Hey, it's David Perdew. This is the weekly live training, MyNAMS.com, and the Novice to Advanced Marketing System. And this is Wednesday, so we always do this on Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 in the afternoon, and we try to really start our day off well with this training. We bring in guest experts, and we learn something that we need to know for our businesses moving forward. We try to focus on things. By the way, I've been saying this a lot to people lately. Is there's something about learning too much, right? I mean, we learn too much, and then we get overwhelmed because we don't implement what we learn. One of the reasons we do this is because we try to bring people in who teach you something specific that you can actually implement and get moving with. And this person that we're bringing on today, Cathy Demers, is one of the best implementers I've ever met. And she really, really knows how to teach us something, move in quickly, and away we go. So I'm really happy to have Cathy here today. We're going to talk about how you can be the Oprah in your market. And Cathy's going to introduce herself. She has been I'll tell you first, though, that she's been a NAMS instructor 4 or 5 times now. I can't remember how long.
Four times.
4 times.
Maybe 5.
And she will continue to be a NAMS instructor. She's really good. She teaches well, and we love having her around because she has exactly the right kind of personality for the NAMS group. And she's highly involved, and I get to meet with her every 2 weeks in an accountability group that we have that I love doing as well. So, Cathy, glad you're here. Welcome.
Well, thank you, David. I'm really excited today. Today's topic is something we both have in common with Oprah. Maybe the only thing we have in common with Oprah.
I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else either. And that's doing interviews. So I'm really excited because it's not that often I actually get to talk about this topic with someone as experienced in doing interviews as you are as well. So it's going to be a great collaboration today. People are going to learn a lot.
Yep, I agree, and we actually teach this kind of together. So we've taught this together before, and yes, it has worked out really well because we come from different approaches completely. But I'm going to let you run with this today, so go.
Okay, great. Well, just hop in anytime you have questions or comments, David. As you know about me, when I get excited and I'm very passionate about this topic, I tend to talk fast. So feel free to put your virtual elbows up and interrupt me anytime you like.
Will do.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push a couple buttons here, hopefully the right buttons, and I am going to show my slides. And David, you're going to let me know if those are looking okay to you.
Looking good.
Okay, excellent. So I like slides because it helps keep me on track, for one thing, but also I have a lot of content that I'm going to share today. And you know, this is something that you and I have taught before, and I've had many students learn more about this and implement it. So there's nothing I'm going to teach you today that you can't actually go ahead and implement pieces. And I know people are going to have some questions, so that's okay. So I am.
Cathy, for some reason it's blinking. Yep. The slides are blinking. Do you have that on
blinking?
Yeah, it's very strange. Anybody else see the blinking happening with the slides?
I can try unsharing and sharing again.
Yeah, try that. There is a lag, by the way, between us and the audience of about 10 to 15 seconds. So if you ask the questions, it's going to take a little bit to get an answer. So
okay, sure, no problem. Okay. And rather than sharing what's called the PowerPoint slideshow on my screen, I'm just going to share the entire screen. Okay. I am working off 2 screens right now, so that might help.
Good.
We shall see. So let me know if that continues. Okay.
Okay, that was good.
You good so far? Excellent. Okay.
No blinking.
No blinking. Hey, we're good. Just got to push enough buttons. Eventually, you'll get it right. So just a little bit of background about me for people who might not know me very well. I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I'm the founder and host of a weekly interview series called The Business Success Cafe. And I have been running this series, oh my gosh, it's coming up to 3 years, which means that I'm coming up, it's a weekly event, people can do the math, that means I'm coming up to my 150th episode before too long here. And I'm going to give you a little bit more information about it in a moment, because I'm going to use it as a bit of a case study, but I'll give you other examples as well, and David, you'll probably want to hop in as well. I'm also a business strategist and coach. I am absolutely passionate about contributing to the prosperity of the world, and I do that by helping small business owners be highly successful. I'm clear clear about my mission, and I absolutely love doing it. I have been myself over 25 years in business development prior to doing this with some rather well-known organizations like Microsoft, and then I went on to work for IBM. But then I left IBM and went on to start my own small business with a fellow, my partner. He was the technical brains of the outfit. Okay, in my world, geek is a term of endearment. And so he handled all the technical side, I handled the business and finance, and we grew it so quickly that eventually we listed it on the stock exchange. And the company was valued at well over $20 million. So lots of experience then, and I've also won several awards for my work, including the Canadian Woman Entrepreneur of the Year Award for Western Canada, and the Business in Vancouver Top 40 Under 40 do not qualify for under 40 anything anymore, and haven't for some time. Just want to make that clear. Okay, so as I mentioned, the case study that I'm going to use today is the weekly interview series that I've been doing, and this system has been tweaked and tuned, and I've really figured out a lot of things that need to be done well in order for this to work, and I've also stubbed my toes quite a few times, and I hope to help people avoid doing that as well. So where you go to take a look at this is the opt-in page. It's nams.ws/cafe, and that's where you go. And you can opt in there. You don't need to, but basically I'm going to be using this, as I mentioned, as a bit of a case study as we go through. I will tell you, David, that this opt-in page has an average conversion of 50%. On average. And so what that means, what that number means, is of all the people who come to this page, half of them opt in. Now, it's partly because of the way I'm marketing it, for sure, but it's also partly because of the way the expert series is designed. So when you have a series, you're able to do some things that no one else can do if they have a static offering or a static program. So when you look at this page, you'll see that the marquee, the experts who are coming up each week, continue to change. So there's some urgency for people to actually opt in, or they might miss something. And so that's
before
really
you go speeding through this too fast,
yes.
I want people to realize how big that is. 50% opt-in on this page is huge. And the reason that is, and it ties right into what we're doing next month in our Insiders Club with the email marketing challenge, is that this is where you are collecting all of your email addresses so that you can continue to deliver content to people through your expert interview series, right?
Yep, absolutely. So this is where my prospects first enter into my system.
And are you going to tell them why this converts at 50% so well?
Yeah, we're gonna actually get into a little bit of that.
Okay, good.
We absolutely are. And people ask me, well, what does that compare to? I've read, and I don't know if this is true or not, but average opt-in rate, if you're doing 15%, you're probably doing pretty well. But I will tell you, it depends on how you market it as well. Different strategies get different opt-in percentages. But 50%, man, I'll tell you, I'm not changing a thing on this page. That's pretty awesome. And it means that people really, like the content. So here's what I'm going to teach today. I'm going to teach why this model works so well in any market, because I know some people are sitting back thinking, oh, that's fine for her market is small business owners, won't work for me. We're going to talk about that a bit. Then what I want to do is I want to hone in and talk about the 8 big benefits of doing your own expert interview series. I have tried a lot of different things, but this is an umbrella under which a lot of things work. So we're going to talk about the 8 big benefits. Now, not all benefits are going to apply to everyone, but you should be able to get 5 or 6 of these benefits working for you, and they're really big. And then we're going to talk about where's the beef, right? How to make money with this. I mean, it's all fun to do and all of that, but you want to put gas in your car. So we're going to talk about the 7 different ways to make money with this strategy. And I think that I would be doing a big disservice if I didn't sort of address some of the things you should look out for and some of the things you should consider. So some of what I call the gotchas to avoid. So we're going to talk about that. And then some resources that will help you. Sound good, David?
It does. One of the things that I want us to do at some point along this is compare and contrast too, because what you do is a lot different than what I do, and I love some of the things that you do, and I'm kind of roped into some of the things that I do. So we can talk about that at the end as well.
Yeah, we can talk about it at the end, or as I go through some of these examples, maybe that would be a good spot to do it too, and I'll try and remember that. Oh, you can see my Skype is still on. Oh, sorry about that. Oh well. Okay, I can't remember to turn off all the buttons. Okay, so as I mentioned, I've tried a lot of different marketing strategies. Social media, paid traffic, Facebook advertising, a lot of different things. And they've worked to a degree. But having an expert interview series, I found, is the one basket in which I can put all of these marketing strategies so they're cohesive, and it builds a cohesive funnel. So it really is a great way, when you find strategies that you like doing and work particularly well for you, to put them under one umbrella. And we sort of alluded to this in talking about Oprah. I mean, how did Oprah get her start? How did she make her first millions? She didn't have any specific expertise or skills in any particular area. She was really good at talking to people. And anybody can do that. Okay? So as long as you don't have an issue speaking to people, even if it's just on the phone, I don't get out much. All right? 99% of what I do is over the phone, and I like it that way. So as long as you're cool with that, you can have an expert interview series. You really can. And that is one of the areas we have in common with her. So any market, let's talk about any market. I think that's important because I want people to be able to put my information today in some sort of context as to how it might work in their market. So let me give you some examples. Oh my gosh, there are tons. Health and wellness, relationships, parenting, spirituality, hobbies, travel and leisure. One of my students was running a interview series on helping women find Mr. Right, which is kind of funny because I married Mr. Right. I just didn't take his name. So people who know me kind of go, what? You passed up the opportunity to Mrs. Right? Yeah, I really did. But I'll give you another example. But one of the students that I had her market was porches. On the outside of your house. So building porches, redesigning porches, renovating, demolishing, designing, all that. Porches, oh my gosh. I've yet to find a market that won't work for an expert interview series. I'm going to give you a tip right now. Or probably want to write this down. All you need to do is look online and see if there's been a conference in your market area, right? A live conference. And I'm not going to recommend that you go, but if there's a live conference in your market, then you have the makings of an expert interview series, and the conference organizers done a lot of the startup work for you because they found the speakers willing to speak and the topics that people are interested in. Okay, there's your gold right there. So for most markets, there's been conferences. So I just decided to just quickly dash off topics for nonfiction writers, and in 10 minutes I came up with this list. And I'm not a nonfiction writer. So if anyone had told me that I would have come up with 150 different topics when I started the Business Success Cafe, I would have thought they were nuts. Okay, but I still have more topics coming, and I'm actually booked for the next 8 weeks. So here's an example of a lady, Author Salon TV. Now she's running her expert interview series from Guatemala. Okay, do it from anywhere, and she's running it from there. That's where she lives, and she's doing a really great job. And her main business is publishing. It's helping authors get published, and this is a great feeder program for her her prospects, but also it's a great highlighter for her students, her customers. Now, here's an example. You don't need to run over to this website, but it's called lovesystems.com. Okay, and lovesystems.com, this is their words, okay? They teach people how to pick up women. So they interview expert pickup artists. And that's what they do. And apparently, they're very successful at it. Now, one thing I will tell you is that if you were to look at this site, you would find the opt-in is buried way down the bottom of the page. They don't give anything for free here. These interviews are not free. They give away a 10-minute sample, and you have to scroll way down the page. Don't do that with your opt-in, right? Scroll way down the page to get it. But they give nothing away for free. Very successful. Apparently, people, well, young men, will pay a lot for this information. Okay, so let me just quickly go through some of the model variations, because this is where you and I kind of differ a bit.
Right.
So you can go really short or deep dive. I go 20 minutes. That's proven to be very popular. So I call it the Business Success Cafe, the perfect coffee break. I know people who've done 5 minutes. 5-minute interviews. Now, it's going to depend on your objectives, okay? So you probably want to think about that. But there's also deep dive, and I do a lot of those interviews as well. This is what I would call a deep dive interview. We're spending a significant period of time going fairly deep, right? An opportunity often for people to interact as well. And so you'll want to take a look at the variation. I would just recommend you look for some consistency. That's what people want. Do you have a comment or question about that, David?
No, yes, I do. The The deep dive versus the short. You know, we do the deep dive here on Wednesday afternoons. It's usually an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. We have gone as long as 2.5 hours.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was a lot. But everybody stayed on because the information was so good and somebody was willing to give a lot of value. That's great. But the short is becoming more and more popular. From what I can tell, people are just inundated with information, and so the shorter the better these days.
Well, you know, it's certainly true, and what I'm finding is that it's not so much that people are inundated with information. You know, that's a huge part of it, but they need to be able to get just enough to decide whether or not they're willing to invest any more time learning about that particular topic from that particular speaker. So shorter is more of a great for an introductory. I've been doing more interviews with the Business Success Cafe where we're actually taking people from the 20 minutes into a deep dive, right? So people who are really interested in the topic, resonate with that speaker, they go into a longer, deeper training. So,
well, you notice, Kathy, when we took our summer hiatus and did reruns in the summer and came back in the fall, we did a 3-minute, 2 to 3 minute trailer for everybody so that they could see what's coming. Because we're trying to kind of build the best of both worlds. So 2 to 3 minute trailer actually gets people interested in coming in for the deep dive.
Yeah, and I think that would be a really great thing for me to add to my expert interview series, so that we get more, not even necessarily more viewers, because you're going to have a lot of people who are not going to show up because their curiosity has been satisfied and it's not for them, but you'll get more people who are really interested in the topic attending. So I think that's a really good idea. Frequency. Now, you do yours weekly, and I do mine weekly, and you know, a lot of people they'll start with doing it once a month or perhaps twice a month. I really want to encourage people to step up the frequency as much as possible, because as you'll see, there's a lot of benefits to these interviews, and the more often you do the interviews, the more you get the benefits. But what I would suggest that you do is keep it on a consistent frequency. You know, TV programs do this. It's, you know, your particular program is aired at a particular date and a particular time, and you know what to expect. So don't go changing it up too much. You can start with lower frequency and then step it up. But I like doing it weekly. And you'll find if you have a system in place, it's not as much work or crazy making as you think it might be. David, you might have something to do that. No, live or pre-recorded. Now, this is where David and I differ a lot. The Business Success Cafe, don't tell anybody, okay? Do not bust me on this out on social media. Do not do it. But the Business Success Cafe is pre-recorded. And it's pre-recorded for a couple of reasons. One is I like my sanity reasonably intact. I say reasonably. And it's also, I find it's a lot easier for me to get the experts that I want scheduled in if we can record the events on their schedule. Right? So there's a lot less gotchas. I end up with a lot less technical issues. I still have them. They're just hidden from view because we're recording well in advance. Now, David, you do yours live.
I do.
Right? And do you want to talk about the benefits to doing that?
Sure. Doing them live is engaging, and we engage the audience really well. We have a back and forth with the audience about questions and answers, and people get to ask the questions and the answers here, and we don't have to fudge anything. So, not that you do, but there are other people out there who have somebody sitting in the background during a recorded interview, and what we do is actually have the engagement going on at the same time, as much as we can.
Right.
The nightmare part of live, of course, is technical glitches.
Yeah.
Right. So we've had some technical glitches, and especially when we use a third-party software that has to be kept up to date with Google's changes, because Google changes without telling people they're going to make a change. They just do it.
They just do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and so there's a couple other points on that, and when you have a longer interview, you can build in the interaction, and I think you really want the interaction, because people who interact with you are more likely to take action today or in the future. So the interaction is important. However, with a 20-minute interview, we just don't have time for that kind of interaction anyway. So pre-recording it makes sense, because there isn't going to be very much interaction if you're going to have a significant amount of content. The other thing I like about it is that it provides me some freedom. I don't have to be tied to a particular time and location. And so I've actually aired the Business Success Cafe while I was at, you know, up in the air, 30,000 feet, flying to see you, David, in Atlanta. So.
Right.
And I could actually do that.
So Jeff has a good comment here about the short versus long, and he says, short to see if people want more. Thank you for saying that. If attention span is getting shorter in general, it will spell the death of online education. I'm not sure that's true, and I'll tell you why. Because we took our 30-day challenges and broke them up into 2 to 3 to 4 minutes on a daily basis. So what we did was focus on the task and actually do pre-recorded sessions in those where people can watch the video each day for 2 to 3 minutes and perform that task that day.
Right.
So to me, that was actually enhancing the online education benefits. I do think people learn differently. You know, some people like to go through an entire 6-week course all at once. I just did that yesterday with a Facebook course. So, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I've used the 20-minute format to introduce a new expert, and we basically invited people into a longer training, and we had several hundred people in that training, but they were captured. They were ready. They were pre-qualified. They knew it was for them, and they were in. So, you know, we had good numbers, but the numbers we had were also really great. You know, we had great results from that. So it's not that online education is going away. It's just we just need to model it towards what our market needs and how they need to consume the information and why.
I will say that bad online education is going away. You have to keep people engaged.
Well, you know, another reason for pre-recording. I will tell you, I've had some duds.
Yeah.
And I've had some conversations where I've, you know, recorded them, and I've said to the expert, I'm being diplomatic. I think I miscommunicated something, right? So, you know, you get a little more quality control as well, which is
right.
Good. Okay, so audio only or video? Okay, video. Now, part of the reason why I want to make this really clear is that for me, people who come to the Business Success Cafe and they want the information, I don't want them to download it into their I'll get around to it someday pile. I don't want to contribute to that overwhelm. If the topic is of interest to them and they want the information, I want them to consume it. So with the Business Success Cafe, they're given a couple of days to watch the video for free, and then they need to, you know, purchase a membership program if they want to see it after that. But it's video. They actually have to sit down and consume it. Right? They can't just download it. So that's a big problem with podcasting is you get a lot of downloads, I think, but how many people are actually going back to it because there is no compelling reason for them to get back to it sooner instead of later. So for that reason alone, I could do audio. People ask me for audio, and I just say no. You know, I don't want to contribute to that. Okay. Did you have a comment on that, David?
Well, I'm just wondering, do you do audio from your video? Can you multi-purpose or repurpose your videos?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just don't.
Okay.
Yep, I don't. And the other reason is that at the Business Success Cafe, most often the expert is invited to make an offer, right, for their program or to go on and learn more from them. It's really hard for people to order if they're not sitting at their computers. So, you know, they can do that. So yes, I could do it, but I don't. I want people to consume the information. So. Well,
I think you're controlling the room is what you're doing, which is, you know, that kind of goes against the grain of what a lot of folks say. They say, you know, reach people wherever you can, whenever you can. But the truth is, if you want them to consume, you kind of have to control the room, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to deliver it in such a way that it's going to meet your objectives, right, which are not always the same as the participants' objectives. Now, if they're paying for the program, giving them the convenience of audio, sure. Right. But if they're not, then, you know,
good
why
point.
make it, you know, anyway. But if you have, even a longer presentation, I would do it exactly the same way. Okay, so free or fee to attend, we already talked about this a little bit. With the Business Success Cafe, which I kind of alluded to, it's free to attend the broadcast on Thursdays or watch the video replay anytime Thursdays or Fridays, and then after that, they pay a fee, a convenience for being able to watch it whenever they want. And I will tell you that once people have the ability to watch the videos whenever they want, they seldom go back to them. Right? I don't ever do that. Neither do you, David. Right?
Never.
You consume everything you purchase. I know.
Yeah, there's never been a course I've bought and not used.
Yeah, there you go. Ever. Okay. He's got his fingers crossed under the desk there. Okay, so the key thing here is to take a look at your objectives. With lovesystems.com, they don't give anything away. It is not free. And so depending on what market you're in and the accessibility of the experts that you have on, I mean, if your experts are people who charge top dollar, people have got to spend time and travel to go see them, and you're interviewing them, charge for it. Well, charge for that information. I know there's a lot of push towards free, but if you get creative and remember your objectives, you can make a lot of money from the system as well. Okay, and this is just my reminder: don't leave money on the table. Okay, just because everyone else is doing free doesn't mean you should be doing free as well. Okay, so let's see here. So let's hop into the benefits. Sound good?
Yep, I'm ready.
Yep. Okay, ready. List building, woohoo! Okay, these are not in any particular order, but this is the key one. This is it. This is my cornerstone strategy for building my list of targeted prospects. Targeted prospects. And the reason why this is so great is because depending on how you build this, the people who are coming onto your list have been recommended by the experts who you're actually interviewing. So they're helping you build your list. And you've heard it said over and over again, the gold is in your list. The gold is in your list, right? So when you have an expert interview series and you're presenting topics that are of interest to your target market, what happens is they come onto your list and they continue to follow you. You know, I just looked yesterday, I made a sale to a fellow who's been on my list since before December 2011. And I don't know how much before, because that's when I switched over to a new system. So sometime before that. So he's been following me all along. So it's not just the list building, it's the relationship as well. So here's I should probably change this, an old image, a copy of the opt-in page. This is kind of what it looks like. So let me talk about this and how it works for list building. So very standard looking, you know, opt-in box. And there's a short video at the beginning. It's about 2 minutes long. But then below that, which you can't really just see the beginning of it here, what happens is there's a marquee of all of the upcoming experts. So if you were to look at businesssuccesscafe.com right now, you'd see the experts who are coming up in November and December. But they're changing constantly. So if people want an opportunity to see one of these experts, they know they have to opt in now. And that urgency is something that's often missing. You know, we're good at doing it on the sales pages, but not so good at doing it on the opt-in pages. And this is part of the reason why we get this 50% opt-in conversion. The other thing that I want you to notice is that because the events are not necessarily happening today, so people look at the page today, they're not going to see there's an event, they're going to see there's no event till tomorrow, you want to give them something immediately consumable, right? Another reason to opt in today and not tomorrow. And so I have this book, it's an ebook, it's in the public domain, it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, when I first put this book up here, I just needed something, so I put that up there, but it's been working really well, and people have been downloading it, so you know, there it is. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can be PLR. It can be anything you want. But I do recommend to people that they do have something immediately consumable by people who opt in, because you're not going to have an interview happening that day. You have a question or a comment, David? Whoop, audio's gone.
Sorry. I was on mute. I was typing there. I was on mute. So I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I did put a poll in here just to see if people if they have an expert interview series already or are planning one.
Great.
So put that, to get to the poll, you should be in the Webinar Jam plugin, and when you click on the right sidebar, you will see the polls tab at the top. Just click that polls tab, and you will see the poll itself. So then just vote right there. I'd like to know how many people on here have an expert interview series or are planning one.
Great. Good. There'll be some more questions about that. Okay, so buzzing right along here. I sort of alluded to this. The gold is not really in your list, is it? It's in the relationship you have with the people on your list. And one of the really great things about interviewing others is you have an opportunity to bring new value on a consistent basis and put yourself front and center, even though you're not doing most of the work, every single week. It's an amazing thing. And if anyone's ever struggled, I know that I've struggled with this, to provide new and interesting content to deepen your relationship with your list on a consistent basis. I mean, if there's anybody here, you know who you are. You know, you keep meaning to develop that relationship with your list, but it's not that easy. You know, it's often one of those not so urgent things. What happens here when you have an ongoing expert interview series is every week you're touching your list, you're giving them an opportunity to learn from you, and you're adding value to them, to their lives, every single time you do an event. So that relationship just gets deeper and deeper. You know, it's interesting because every once in a while I'll email my list about something and people will respond to me like I'm talking to them. And I've been talking to them because that's how they perceive it. I am talking to them when I do these interviews each and every week, gets me in front of them. Okay, so when I started this business that I eventually grew into a company worth $20 million, I started it with a $10,000 investment. That's it. And my business partner, Uber Geek at the time, went and purchased a single computer. We needed it to run our business. It was important, but then the $10,000 was gone. Okay, they were a lot more expensive back then. And so we had nothing. We had zero money. So what we did was we used what I called OPM, right? That's what we called it in the company. Let's go get us some OPM, other people's money. You know, and we raised a lot of other people's money. Here what you can do is you can use other people's content. And so when you're interviewing experts, you don't need to be an expert in every different topic and every different subject. You basically are using other people's content by interviewing them. They're providing the content for you, and they want you to do it. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday from Joe Polish's group, and they're looking for places, interviewing opportunities for some of their members. Okay, and they're like, hey, what have you got? Because maybe it's a great showcase for us. So people are actively looking for opportunities to showcase their information. So you're able to use other people's content. Now, if you've ever struggled to create an email, marketing message, or whatever, this is really great because not only do they provide you the content in the interview, they give you the copy so that you can promote it because they've already written it. You don't even have to do that. Right? You might tweak it a bit, but you don't have to write it from scratch. So reusable content, this is really important. When you create an expert interview series, you're going to have these interviews that you can use a number of different ways. Now, I keep it really simple. One of the things that I do is I put it in a membership program, and I sell access to unlimited access to watch the videos. I make a lot of money every month selling these replays. And that's very easy to do. You can transcribe them. You can provide the audio. You can create books out of them, articles, Kindle books. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can do with this content. Now, just because you've interviewed someone doesn't mean you have the right to use their content, okay? You do have to make sure that you get that okay. It's not hard to do. It's really easy. And for most people, they're like, oh, you're going to promote me far and wide in a bunch of different ways? Yeah, okay. You know, I've only had one person out of 150 say, no, I don't want you to. One. And I'm like, okay, you're being weird. But all right then. But so I don't want to suggest you have carte blanche, but it is easy to get that permission. Do you have a question, David?
I have a couple.
Okay.
First is somebody is saying in here that I don't understand the free. I do understand free opt-in, but how do you get traffic to your site? And I don't know if you're coming up to that or not, but I bet you are.
I am.
Okay, good. We'll get there.
I am. Yeah.
The other thing that somebody said is I would much rather have transcripts of talks like these. These are different learning styles for people.
Yes.
But you know, you really have to make a decision based on expenses and all of that, right?
Yes.
So you have to determine what you're going to do for the customer that you want.
Yeah.
How do you handle it when people want transcripts?
Well, for this particular, for courses it's different. For workshops, for higher end products, things I'm charging more, it's different. Okay. But because these are 20-minute interviews, for the most part they're free, I don't think that I would invest in a transcript for the free interviews. Right? Again, because people have 2 days to watch them and then they're gone, right? But for the replays that are in the membership program, you could certainly add the transcripts, but I charge a really nominal fee. It's $47 a year, right? For that, I'm not providing 52 transcripts. Right. However, might not be a bad idea to test the market and see who would be interested in paying more for transcripts and then providing those as an upsell. Okay, but it's going to add to the weekly work of getting this done because you're going to need to get those transcripts done. But you know, not a huge job. You can outsource that. Right. So I would definitely test market that and see who is interested because a lot of people want transcripts. They're just not willing to pay extra for them. So there you go.
Well, a lot of people want a lot of things that they're not willing to pay extra for.
Yeah, exactly. But if they were willing to pay extra for them, then that would be a great upsell.
It's always the test.
Yeah, it certainly would. But at $47 a year, what does that work out to? Less than $1 per episode. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, certainly could do it. It's just not something that I've implemented. But if you have the transcripts, that would be a very easy way to repurpose that content into a book. Right? You're half the way there. Well, you're 90% of the way there at that point. Okay.
Can you also talk about the type of agreement that you use? Somebody is interested in that.
Yeah, it's just it's in the email that I send a couple of emails to the experts that I'm going to interview, and it's actually in there. It's not a legal contract. It just says something like, the wording is something like, by participating, I get to do what I want with your stuff. Right? As long as I use it in its entirety. And people are usually good with that, as long as I don't hack out pieces, and they're usually pretty good with that. So it's in the email agreement that is sent over. Nothing too complicated. And I mean, honestly, if someone has an issue and they want me to take it down, I'll take it down. It's never happened, right? But yeah. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, so here's the one where we talk about the primary list building strategies. There's lots of different ways about doing it, but this is the cornerstone to many different parts of my business, this Business Success Cafe, the interview series, because what it allows me to do is, first of all, create relationships with referral partners and joint ventures. You can also include the word affiliates in here, right? These words are used kind of loosely. So, for example, here you and I are, David. So you were on the Business Success Cafe just recently. I do this a lot with partners. If the interview's gone well and I really like working with that person, I will say to them, hey, why don't you interview me, right? I have something of value to share. And they're like, whoa, way cool. So they do that. And also what happens is that as I'm interviewing people, they are my source for other people to interview. They know people, and they introduce me to people that I collaborate on, not just the Business Success Cafe, but other parts of the business as well. So imagine the top experts in your industry, and you would like to talk to them, right? You have kind of two ways to go on about doing it. You kind of reach out to them and say, hi, I'm Bob or whoever, how do you like me so far? Or what you do is you contact them and say, I'd like to introduce you to my people. I'd like to interview you. Which do you think they're going to respond to, right? And think about it. These experts, the experts in your market, how did they get there? Usually by being interviewed, right? They know the power of this. So this is just a really great door opener, relationship builder for many different parts of your business. I'll tell you, doing an expert interview series, I tell people I'm the poster child for what can happen when you find something that works and you systematize it and you do it over and over and over again. And this is one of the reasons. Benefit number 5, right? The spillover effect.
You said 3 things right there that are really important.
Mm-hmm. Poster
Find something that works.
Yes.
Systematize it.
Yes.
Do it over and over.
Yes. Absolutely.
So those are the keys. I mean, anybody who is thinking that this is really hard, you're the poster child of systematizing this, because you use the same kind of boilerplate that's minimally customized for each person, right? So that you get them, you know what your system is, you know when you've got to record it, you have your schedule all set out, you know what has to be edited, you know who on your team is going to do it, and you know when I'm going to promote, because we've agreed to promotion dates when we do an interview. So that's one of the things that you have down really well that I love about your system, is that a very clear email comes out with your agreement, with your expectations, with all of that, and it happens in like clockwork. And if it doesn't, it throws a glitch into the system, and then you have to scramble to get people to do what they need to do. But that happens to all of us, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other, on that same note, David, one of the things I love about this is that so much of what you can outsource, right? I mean, not all of it, but once you get it systematized, it's relatively easy to outsource it. So there's certain things that have to happen in certain dates and times, and my team just make sure it gets done, or remind whoever it is to do it that they said they would do it. And so that's really great. But one of the things I want to mention right here, right now, is that one of the reasons this works so well is because it's loaded with deadlines. Right? And so for some people, when you hear the word deadlines, little hairs on the back of their neck go up, and they're like, no, don't fence me in. But if for anyone listening, if you've ever had the experience that it takes you longer to get things done than you'd like, right? It's because you don't have urgency. And when you have an expert interview series, you have this built-in urgency. People are expecting you to do things on a certain date and a certain time, and it just keeps rolling. And I'll tell you, I get a lot more done when I've got deadlines that I'm working towards. Okay. Benefit number 6. I love this one. It's relatively low cost to start and run your own expert interview series. You don't need a lot of stuff. Okay? You don't need a lot of tools. You don't need a lot of technology. You need to learn a few things, but none of them are complicated and none of them are particularly expensive. I like the fact that for most people, you can get started doing this on a shoestring budget. You really can. It works really well. Oh, I should back up a little bit. I want to talk about this JV partners because this I said I would. This is where it comes in with the list building. The primary strategy that I use for list building is having the experts that I'm interviewing introduce the Business Success Cafe to their people. Okay. Now there are some specific ways to go about doing this because you want to maximize the benefits to the experts for introducing you to their list. But basically what happens is that they're the ones who are bringing new people in to the Business Success Cafe, and they're bringing in new people who are interested in the concept they want to learn, and so they bring them in. Now, they're also affiliates of mine, which means that an added benefit for promoting is that if people go on and purchase a digital product like the replays or some other product, they do get an affiliate commission. Okay, so that's all built in. So built in lots and lots of benefits for those people that I'm interviewing to help me build a list in doing this and build those relationships. Now, David, do you want to just comment for a minute on how you do it and how that might be a bit different? Well, we need more volume. We need some volume. Oh, there we go. You're back.
Some volume would be good, right? So,
yeah, some.
I was going to say it actually is very much the same because I try very hard to make sure that we have a system in place. The only thing that I do a little differently is that I actually encourage the people who are coming on to our interview series to do most of the promotion into the interview series because we give them a system that actually tags them for life when they get people into the system. There's a lot of people who don't do that. They actually expect that when they're going to be interviewed, they expect you to bring the audience for them to do the interview. So you have to be really clear about what the expectations are about that.
And depending on your market, I know people are listening, they're going, oh man, I don't think my experts really have lists, right? And in some markets, they really don't. And so this benefit may not be the biggest one for you, but also there are some interesting ways around it. Like a lot of the experts that you'll interview have books, okay? And they have book lists, and their publishers have lists of people who've purchased. So don't just discount this one because your market are not people who are building info products and have big lists, right? And small lists are okay too, right? There has been some great home runs from people who had lists of just 1,000 people, and it's compared with people who've had, I've interviewed people with lists as high as 160,000, and their results have been similar. Okay, so I wanted to mention that as well. Okay, so low cost to start and run. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this. I mean, certainly if you want to explore it, we can talk about some of the tools. But I will tell you that when you're interviewing people every week, as much as possible, you need to find something that's easy for your experts to operate and function and get involved and all the rest of that. And I know, David, that's one of your big bugaboos every week when you're doing this, is making sure the experts are well prepared. So. Yep,
it is. And the other thing, though, about the low cost to start and run is that we have a question here that is, how do you record this? Do you have to have fancy recording equipment to record these?
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't at all. I use a system called Instant Teleseminars to record with the experts, and you can just simply start the recording, stop the recording, and it will host the video and everything for you. Now, when I say video, I mean talking over PowerPoint slides. I don't mean video like seeing your face, David, like we're doing here today. That's even less expensive to do.
It is.
Quite honestly. But the thing I like about Instant Teleseminars is it's easy for the experts to run if they don't have a lot of technical skills. Doesn't matter what computer they have. And then what I will do, I I probably don't have to, but I'm a bit of a fuss budget sometimes. But what I will do is actually take the, he's like, shh, David, none of that.
I'm not telling.
I opened the door on that one. So what happens is I actually then take the video, load it into Camtasia, and I might do a little bit of tidying up at the beginning or the end or something. So, you know, if I need to, I will use Camtasia. But for the most part, you don't even need to do that. Do not let technology stop you. If you want to have an expert interview series, technology should be the least of your concerns here. So, right. Okay. Credibility and visibility. There's actually really two benefits in one, but you know, if anybody, David, had told me how much this was going to build my credibility and visibility and how quickly, I would have said they were nuts, right? I wished I'd started this years before. I really do. The first time I went to NAMS, going back a few years now, I had like 4 or 5 people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Cathy. You host the Business Success Cafe." And I'm like, "Ooh, cool." And remember, I don't get out much. I really don't. And the next time I went, there were 15 people who came up to me and said, "I know you. I'm on your program." And so what was happening was my visibility was increasing. But here's the other thing. I know a little bit about business development, but I'm not an expert in a lot of areas, but I'm seen as an expert in all kinds of areas because I'm hobnobbing with these people who are. So my credibility in my business chosen target market is just rocketed as a result. Here's the interesting thing. In the interviews, I don't say much. I really don't. They're 20 minutes. I read an introduction, I ask one question or comment, and I say thank you. And that's about it. And people think I'm pretty smart for doing it. So
yes, so I want to ask a question here myself.
Okay.
You're a coach too. You're a very successful coach, business coach. And in the online, you were successful in your business previously in the offline world. You came online, and people want you to be an online business coach.
Yes.
So how much has having a interview series done for your confidence as a business coach?
Oh, huge amount. You know, that's a really good point. I haven't even really thought about that because what happens is that when I'm interviewing these experts, they treat me like I'm one of them. You know, they treat me like I'm not so much that it's part of a clique or a club, but just they naturally assume that I have a similar level of credibility that they do, right? And so they treat me that way. And so yeah, it's been really great for my confidence. The other thing is that I've learned a lot, but you know, I'm not an expert in all these topics. And what it also allows me to do is help direct my clients as to where they might look. And I say, oh, you know, I had a conversation with so-and-so about Pinterest marketing. I think he can help you. So there's a lot of side benefits. But the whole confidence building, I hadn't really thought about it that way, David, but it's been absolutely huge.
So let me give you another example. Yesterday, one of our NAMsters who's building his first product, it's a telesummit. Actually, it's a video summit, video webinar series, and this is his first gig, and he asked me to be on it. And at first I thought, well, you know, I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I'm not sure I have enough time, and I asked who else is going to do it. And he rattled off a bunch of names, and there's like 6 or 7 people out there, and half of them I really wanted to get to meet.
Yes.
Because I didn't know them yet, and they were people at a higher level in their coaching world or their online business experience than I was. So from both sides of this, you gain the credibility and the visibility because it becomes a very important circular action. The more of these to do, the more of these that you do, the more people want you to do them.
Yes.
And so you can really build into this. Now, we're all going to be promoting into this telesummit that this guy's doing, but it's a great way for me then to reach out to the other people and get them onto my program. So,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because now you'll be able to say, oh, we were on this program together, and your credibility is much higher just as a result of being in this group, right? It's such it's a really great
asked for a reason. Whether you are an expert or not, people perceive you to be an expert. Yes. Now, you have to deliver the goods.
Yeah.
Or that perception goes away quickly.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And you pick experts who deliver the goods. Let them deliver the goods, right?
That's right.
Let them deliver the goods. But here's one thing. I can imagine that people are thinking this to themselves right now, but I don't know any of those people. I don't know anyone who would say yes to being interviewed by me because I don't have an interview series. Pardon me?
Who did you know when you started?
Exactly. No one. My friends, right? My
That's it.
buddies. That's it. And when I went to NAMS, the first thing I did, a couple people knew me there, and I'm like, okay, who can you introduce me to? And you start where you start. Okay.
That's it.
Again, do not let that be a reason not to get started. I mean, I had some buddies sort of, that didn't have big lists or anything like that. They didn't have, I'm like, well, I would like to interview you. You start where you are. Start where you are.
So, of course, this is going to sound like a shameless plug, but I started because I had a coach who actually introduced me to some people, and some of them were people in his program already that were a little further along than I was,
Right.
and so I started with those folks.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of, I started with the folks that they knew, and it
Right.
and it actually becomes a real 6 degrees of separation kind of thing that just keeps building.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I are going to be on the Marketers Cruise. There'll be a ton of people we know who will be introducing us to people who we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's how these businesses are built. And the cool thing is you can do it from home too, right? That's what I love about it. But I actually have a system for getting introduced to new people by experts, right? It's actually part of my system, because if I don't, it's really difficult to keep that roster full week after week after week, right? But it's okay. It's all good. I'm booked up right now until middle of February. With experts, but it's because I have a system to stay on top of it and keep getting those referrals coming. Okay, so going forward here, oh, there we go. Where's the beef? The money, okay? How do you make money doing this? So I've already alluded to some of these things, but there are 7 different ways. I don't use all 7 different ways, but I want to talk about them anyway, and David, you might have some things to add here as well. So here are some sources for revenue. First of all, fees for attending. I mentioned this before. Do not leave money on the table. If people are willing to pay for that expertise, for goodness sakes, charge them for it. Now, you may need to have an arrangement to share that with the expert. You may not. Right? That may not be required. But fees for attending, there's a lot of money being made out there from these types of interviews. So you're introducing them, but you don't need to give it away for free. So fees for replays, that is a model that I do where people can purchase what I call an access pass. And what they're able to do is purchase that on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. I make the yearly a really sweet deal. And so I would say probably less than 5% purchase monthly. They purchase annually, and so there's good revenue opportunity from there. More importantly, what happens is when someone purchases an access pass, they crack their wallet open a little bit. They stay on my list. They stay engaged with me. So if you get them to get past that first low or into a low risk purchase, they tend to stay on your list for a long time and follow you for a long time. So I think that's really important, and that's on the post opt-in one-time offer. Is how we do that. Reselling content in multiple formats. We talked about that in quite a bit of detail already, but there's lots of different ways of doing that. Affiliate commissions from partners. Now, this is a key part of my model in that, for them, almost without exception, the experts that I interview are invited to make an offer. Right? So, and I'm really clean about it with my people. If you need to learn more about this topic than we could possibly teach you in 20 minutes, and you resonate with this expert, you want to learn from them, then I'm going to get you a really hot deal to do that. And so every week there is a revenue stream that comes in from these interviews from the Business Success Cafe. Now, I will tell you that the shorter the interview, the more of a challenge it is to sell the higher priced products. There's an inverse relationship between the time of the interview and the price point of the product that will actually turn into a sale. So I will tell you that. Did you have a question about that, David, or a comment?
No, yes. I was just going to say that we do the same thing, and what I love about this expert interview series that we do, the weekly live training, what I love about it is it's a test. Because I can tell by the end of the series or by the end of the broadcast whether that's a product that I'm going to want to promote more. And if emails coming out from me tomorrow through the weekend on a webinar that we did on Wednesday, that means it sold really well and people wanted it. So I try to get that information out to people a lot faster.
Great. So this is a really good model. So no big surprise. I'm going to make an opportunity here available since we've had this discussion. But it is a great part of the model. And if people, like I said, need to learn more about the topic, they've connected with the expert, and you make an opportunity for them to go on and do that, right? Then it's a great win-win for everyone. It really is. It's fabulous. So it's part of the model. Okay, so Here's the other thing. I wanted to bring you back to benefit number 1, which is list building. And so what you're able to do is you're actually building a prospect list that you can then offer your products and your services. And it's been built through your expert interview series. And so what happens with me is I have a few other products that I sell, and I'm building this targeted list of people in my market. And remember, benefit number 2, I'm building a relationship with them week in, week out. And as I mentioned earlier, people will, if they feel compelled, they develop this relationship, this know, like, and trust factor with me. And so if my products are a good fit for them, then guess where I'm standing? Right there in front of them. It's a real great win-win. And sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it doesn't, but I have this system with deadlines in for keeping that relationship building and offering them things as well. Did you have a question? You looked like you had a question or a comment.
No, I'm just listening.
Okay, good. Is this number 7? This is number 6. Reciprocal interviews. Okay, we sort of talked about this a bit, and so what will happen with me is that, again, if I have an expert who's interviewed me, I've liked working with them, you know, their list seems to be relatively responsive, and I can tell from their opt-in rates, then I will say to them, okay, well, how about you interview me? And it's been a pretty rare occasion that someone has had a great experience working with me and my team. I've graciously interviewed them. They've had great results. They've had a good time doing it. The odds of them actually saying, nah, I don't want to interview you, pretty slim. Pretty darn slim. Right. And what I do, as I mentioned, I pre-record each call. I always leave enough time at the end so that we can have that discussion, if it makes sense to do it. That's when I do it, right when I have graciously thanked them for giving me such a great interview for my people. And so that's typically, in my system, that's when I'll go about doing that. Sponsorship and advertising. Now, I don't do a lot of this. I probably should do more. But as your interview series grows and you get targeted traffic to your site and to your list, I mean, it's no secret today that sponsors and advertisers are looking for fresh new places with highly targeted eyeballs. That real estate's worth a lot. And so when you can get people who are actually watching your series for any length of time, and you can get a lot of hits and a lot of, you know, eyeballs stuck to those pages, it's worth a lot. And so you can really seriously consider sponsorships and advertising. And for people who don't have an affiliate or joint venture relationship opportunity, this may be the big one for you. This may be it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just go through and give you a little bit more information about some additional resources here. Now, one of the people that I interviewed for the Business Success Cafe some time ago, we did a reciprocal interview. He interviewed me as well. And what he said was, he told me that his list of 160,000 subscribers was mostly came from expert interviews. You'll find, if you've been talking to people who've been doing this for quite a while, that interviews is how they've built their lists. It's been a really important part of their market. So I want to talk about just some things to consider here. I said I'd talk about some gotchas. Do we still have time, David? I go through this quickly?
We do, but
Okay.
I wanted people to see that that was healthy, wealthy, and wise, not how to make money online.
No, different market. Different market.
160,000
right?
people is a lot of people in a niche market.
Yes, and I have I've interviewed several people who several people now who've had list sizes in excess of 100,000 people, primarily built from doing expert interviews. Not necessarily in a series per se, which is what I'm recommending people look at, is modeling this in a series, because then they get the most benefits. Okay, so things to consider, the gotchas that I wanted to talk about. So first of all, I really want to let people know that success in this requires a long-term commitment to it. Okay, you're going to make it part of your model. Now, not a ball and chain, I'm going to do it forever no matter what. I mean, if you don't like it, don't do it. But I want to let people know that if you just want to do 1 or 2 interviews and then see how it goes, you probably won't get the best results. Okay, you really want to make this as part of a model and run a few so that you can start to build and see the results. It does happen quite quickly, but you're far better off if you take a long-term perspective rather than a just I'll try one. Okay, now it does require some time and effort. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say you just wave a magic wand and people are going to show up and experts are going to be falling all over themselves to talk to you. But it doesn't take much. I spend right now on everything that's finding out whether or not, having an initial interview with the expert to find out whether or not there's a fit, recording it, promoting it, everything, editing it. If I do some, I would say an average of 4 hours a week. right? My team does the rest. And for all these benefits, that's pretty small. And sometimes it's even less than that. What do you think, David? What would you say is your time commitment for doing this?
Very limited now because, like you, I have mine pretty much systematized, and it's so systematized that I pretty much just show up now and do it, and it's done. And also, I switched to Webinar Jam software, which uses the Google Hangout format, so that even the recording and the processing is done now. So,
yeah. So
my commitment is the time on the call, basically.
Yeah. And for me, I do have an initial, what I call information meeting with the expert so that we know what to expect. But yeah, it's on the call. And then, you know, writing up the emails to go out and stuff like that. But a lot of that's outsourced as well. So yeah, once you have a system, boy, and I'll tell you, I have on many occasions added 1,000 new people to my list in 1 week, right? I don't know too many other things where you can have that type of time commitment and those kind of results. Okay, here's another thing to consider. The clock's always ticking, okay? If you hate deadlines, if you rail against deadlines, this is not for you, okay? But what I find, I work on something that I call the Picasso principle. And how that goes is someone once asked Pablo Picasso, how do you know when a painting is finished, right? It's kind of hard to tell with the Picasso. And his response was, when I've run out of time. And so for most of us, we keep working on things, tweaking and tuning things because we don't have any deadlines. And in this case, the show goes on at a particular time. We will be ready. We'll have the experts lined up. The emails will go out because the expert's expecting me to promote it. All those things, they happen. Okay, it becomes a priority, and so I get the results from it. So I love it, but for some people, not so much. There are some details that need to be tracked and managed. I use some tools to do that. They're very easy. It's nothing complicated, but there are some things that need to be done. Like, do you have the experts write up for the page and all of that? But again, you just need a simple little system to do that. But you'll need to plan ahead. Okay. This is the key, and you'll need to plan ahead because you need to schedule your experts well in advance. Okay, so that you don't have dead air, right? You have some there. And why do you need to plan in advance and book your experts in advance? Because they're busy people, right? These people that you want. They plan their schedules well in advance. So you're going to need to do the same. And again, it's just a system. That's all you need is a system.
And another reason that you need to plan in advance is because there's nothing worse than getting to Tuesday when you do a Wednesday interview and you think, gosh, who am I going to do tomorrow?
Oh, no. That's way too stressful. And so for me, the way I do it is I promote a month ahead. So in November, by this time in November, I need all the descriptions and everything up on the page for December, which is great because I'm not panicking about what's going to happen on Thursday. I already know. I've known for a month now what's going to happen. So.
I just looked at our page, and we don't have anybody on our page after you, but I know that we are scheduled through the end of the year, so we have to get all of our trailers up there, and I know that next week is me, so that I haven't done my trailer yet, so I'm as bad as everybody else.
There you go. Yep. So part of the way that I promote the Business Success Cafe and what I commit to the experts forces me into working 4 weeks ahead. It forces me into doing that, so it's part of the system. I mean, sometimes we just need a system to get past our own shortcomings. Yep. You know, systems are good for that. And yeah, I'm not that organized. I'm not. I have the appearance of being organized, which is completely different. Okay, you'll need to create systems. We just talked about that. These systems are really important. They're not complicated, but it's a matter of knowing what needs to happen when and who's gonna be on doing what. And this is a really great place to outsource to your team. And my team keep me on track. That's part of their job is to let me know when something's coming up that needs attending to before it becomes urgent. So just to recap on the benefits, we talked about list building. A cornerstone strategy for many people, not just for me and for David. Relationship building. So again, the goal is not in the size of your list, it's in the relationship you have with your list over time. And you're able to build a relationship because you're giving them great stuff every week. And gone are the days when you have to write it all yourself and come up with all that great content. So you're using other people's content. You're able to repurpose the content in a bunch of different ways. Oh my gosh, this is really excellent for business. Referral partners and joint venture relationships. Okay, with newcomers, it's a great way to showcase newcomers, but it's also the fantastic way to get the attention of the top people in your target market. in a way that works for them and they'll appreciate. It's relatively low cost. Okay, don't need to invest a lot of money. Do this on a shoestring budget. Credibility and visibility. We talked about this. Oh my gosh, if this is the only reason for doing an expert interview series, it's enough. And then the 7 different ways to get revenue. So what I want to do right now, David, is I just want to explain to people how they can learn more. Okay, so if this is something they want to integrate in their business and they want to learn more about how to do it, and so I want to give people an opportunity to do that. Sound good to you?
It does, and let me tell you that our poll results says that people want to know, because we had 83% of the people on here want or have an expert interview series. So this is a topic of interest to our folks.
Wow, great. So this is going to be of interest to people who don't have a series yet and want to build it from scratch but want to do it quickly without a lot of the toe stubbing that I had to do, or for people who have an expert interview series and they want to tweak it and tune it so it works better for them. They have to spend less time at it and they get better results. So that's what we want to do. So here's a quote from Joel Sanders. So he's the CEO of Instant Teleseminars. He's one of the people who interviewed me because he'd heard about the Business Success Cafe. So it's like, okay, you have me on, I'll have you on. And here's what he says. He says, growing your list, making money, and having fun because you have a system in place that can allow you to do this from a beach or anywhere you are in the world sounds pretty appealing to me. Me too. And he said there's probably nobody better in the world to learn this from. And again, it's because I've put these systems in place and I've done so many. So the program that I have for you is called the, oh my gosh, shocker of shockers, Make Money with an Expert Interview Series program. And so one of the people who's taken this program, who I mentioned to you earlier, she has a salon TV, she said, I jumped on this and I now have my series up and running in less than 30 days. Okay, so you can do this quickly. This doesn't need to be a big, long, make-work project. And then she also says, even if you're a novice or someone more seasoned, this will take you by the hand and show you step by step how you can create your own expert interview series to build your list and your profits. So let me tell you what's in it. So first of all, I'm going to teach you how to design and plan your speaker series. So even if you're not really sure about your target market, we are going to deal with that. We're also going to tell you, give you a lot more information on how you can find your speakers, what kind of format you might use, depending on what your objectives are. So we're going to actually help you define and plan that out. And research and develop your interview topics. We're going to go through all of that because I know that's a lot of people. They go, I couldn't possibly come up with that many topics. Oh, yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how to do that quick and easy. Defining your audience, okay, your target market. Now, this is a little bit interesting because for a lot of people, the question is, do I go narrow? Do I go broad? It's a bit of a question there. We deal with that. What's the best format, duration, and frequency? We talk about the systems, okay, the technical systems in the background. Give you some options as to what you use. I go through in a lot of detail what I use and recommend, and it's not always the same as what you might use. Monetization models and implementation. We spend quite a bit of time on this. It's important. And marketing strategies and tactics that work. Now, what I mean by work, I mean you're the only people who are going to be able to do it because you have an ongoing expert interview series. Some of the things that I've been able to do to get that 50% opt-in on the opt-in page are because I have an expert interview series. So we're going to be talking about that. And then where to find those experts, how to get started, and how to build those relationships. So where to find them, how to approach them, what to say, so they'll say yes. And here's the thing, a lot of people, this is where they get stuck because they don't have confidence. They don't think they can do it, and they don't want to blow their first opportunity with an expert and have them say no. This is really easy. Once you know what to do, once you know what to say, it's really, really easy. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So I give you all the templates and systems that I use for the Business Success Cafe. Okay, everything's there. So you'll be able to take those templates and modify them for your own use. The email that you mentioned, David, earlier, that my team sends out to you, so it makes it really easy for you. You'll get that template. You just take it and plug in your own information, so you can use that.
I was wondering because that is a huge system builder right there.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time getting that right, based on feedback from the experts, things they were confused about, and all of that. So those templates, hours went into them. They're not complicated, but a lot went into them. So you'll get all of that. You'll get the exact email that I send, for example, for the experts to promote the event. Now, again, you're going to want to modify it for your own use, but I'm going to tell you how you can get help with that as well. Okay, so going forward here, Every time I move my mouse, it backs up one. That's okay. So how to approach the experts to interview is in there. The sample agreement that we talked about, that agreement email, that text is in there. I'm not a lawyer, as David likes to say, and I don't play one on TV, okay? But I can tell you what worked for me. I'm going to give you lots of tips. We're going to overview some of the technology that I use, the tools, your experts, what works, what doesn't work, how to deal with problem experts. You can hear what I'm not saying.
There are no problem experts.
Yeah, no problem experts. Yeah, so we talk about all that. And if there is such a thing, planning for the unexpected. Okay, what are the kinds of things that can go wrong, and how you can plan for them. So, okay, so the program itself, there's 3 recorded sessions, 3 workshop sessions with me, okay, as I'm teaching, I'm taking through students through this program. I give you complete workshops, materials, the templates that I mentioned. Now you're also going to get a whole pile of Q&A recordings. So this is questions that past students have asked me, questions I didn't anticipate, questions you might not anticipate, and my answers to them. You're going to get immediate access to everything. There's no drip feed here. You get access to the whole thing, and you get unlimited lifetime access. So you can come back to this anytime as you tweak and tune your system. And I keep updating this as I add more information. I've done some technology changes, and the updates are in there now, and I'll just keep adding them as we go. Now, this whole thing comes with my money-back guarantee. And so basically, if you don't think it's worth it, well, David knows where I live. Okay, let me put it that way. David's got your back.
And we're all going to be on the cruise with you in January, so we can get up
there you go. There you go. He's got your back. So I've added some bonuses in here. Okay, I just want to remove any consideration. If this model is for you, I just really want you to get started and get going with this. So first of all, I've included the Business Success Cafe annual access pass for you. So you're going to get this, and part of the reason is I think it's important for you to see, well-run expert interview series from start to finish. So this will give you an opportunity to see from the inside out how I sell these replays and how they actually are delivered to the students. You're also going to get, this is really key. Remember I said I was going to help you specifically. With the program, you're going to get 90-day free trial of my Gold Group Coaching. Now that means that twice a month, for an hour and a half, you get access to me to ask me any question you like about your expert interview series program. So about the content and the material, anything you like. So you're going to get full 90 days in that group coaching. I can't anticipate every question that you'll have, neither can you. But I want to help you make sure that this is a success for you. Now, normally I charge $197 a month for that group coaching, so you're going to get 3 full months, 90 days. Okay, 90 days access to me. So here's the program. You're going to get the Make Money with Expert Interview Series program. The value on that is $497. You're going to get 3 months of Gold Group Coaching at no cost. And then after that, okay, after that, it's only $97 a month. So we're going to keep you in the Gold Group Coaching. You can cancel any time. The first 3 months are free. And after that, you won't pay $197. As long as you stay in, you'll pay only $97. And you'll get access to the replays and all of that. So you'll get full access to the replays even if you can't make every Gold Group Coaching call. Now, one of the things that people tell me about the Gold Group Coaching is that often they go, oh, group coaching, I'm going to be sitting there twiddling my thumbs waiting until it's my turn, right? Not so. The participants in this program tell me that 70 to 80% of everything covered is of value to them. That's gold. That's group coaching at its best. So it will really be of great value to you. You'll get the access pass, again, that's $57 value on that. So the whole thing, if you were to add this all together, is over $1,100. It's not what you're going to pay. You are going to pay only 3 payments of $97. That's it. Again, like I said, I wanted to take any consideration out of the way, so I've given you all the materials, lots of help with me in a group format, but you'll have access to me, and it's 3 payments of $97. And that's the cost of the program. So what you need to do is go to nams.ws. I notice I've got a little thing here. See if I can hide that. nams.ws/interviews. And that's where you need to go. Now, I have had a huge amount of pressure from David and others to increase the price on this program. Okay. And I probably should, but I'm not going to right now. Okay, so it is for action takers. So if that's you, just go ahead and do it. Like I said, I've removed every possible consideration that I have. The content in here, step-by-step, template system, everything I know about how to do this and do it in a way that gets you all the benefits that we talked about. So there you go. David, over to you. Questions?
Okay, so $97 3 times gets you all of this stuff plus group coaching. Now you've listened to Cathy and you know how energetic she is. This is an amazing amount of information that she throws at you pretty fast. Now, it's really good to have that recorded so you can go back through it again. And Cathy, I assume that people get access to you during the group coaching. Do they get access to any recordings as well of the group coaching, or is it all the recordings in the expert interview series?
They get the recordings in the expert interview series, the program itself, and they will get access to the recordings for the gold group coaching from the day they register going forward, as long as they're a member.
Okay. Okay.
So I have had the odd person who said, oh, I can't attend that meeting, but I'm just like, email me your question. I'll answer it in the meeting, and you can listen to the recording. Yeah.
Okay, great. And the annual access pass is $57?
Yes.
And so they're paying just a little bit more than that for their first payment to get beyond that and into this entire program. So, you know, I think that we have really hammered home how important it is to do this. And I wanted to mention one other benefit from doing this that we talked about, and we just hit kind of briefly. But when you start doing your own expert interview series, you start getting invited to be a guest. That's huge.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons you want to do this. It's really huge for you to get your name out there and to start getting the list building. That's how I built my list, by the way, was doing these weekly live training events. And you know, anybody that I know who has an online business in this niche or any other niche does that with interview series. So Ellen Britt built her entire business by doing interview series, and she's got a pretty good sized list, and that fed her for a long time. That's what happens with all of us, is once you get a list built, that's one part of your business. But these are traffic techniques for getting you in, getting your business set up. So it's really important to understand this as a component, a key component of your entire business.
Well, and like I said, it is the cornerstone of everything I do. It is the beginning for probably 97% of people that have a relationship with me. It is how I network with the top people in my industry. It is the door opener. It is the primary revenue generator. I mean, there's so many things that are, but you can branch out into a lot of different places from this, because once you have these targeted prospects on your list, they get to know you, you have a relationship with them, man, you can do a lot of different things.
So can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
The reason that I went to reruns in the summer was I was seriously thinking about not doing these any longer.
Yes.
And I came back to it and realized that everything in my business revolves around these. So, you know, this is where I get additional content. This and the workshop, which, by the way, is just another flavor of expert interview series, the NAMS workshop. Because I get content there from letting the instructors teach, and that's what we do here, and that's what they do there. So I'm getting a ton of content by doing that, and being able to sell that content back to people who are new to us or who want additional information. Can't do without my weekly live training. And the reason I was even considering it was because I was trying to get back some of my life, you know, trying to figure out how to cut out stuff. This is one thing I can't cut out.
Yeah, and you know, it is such a cornerstone. You know, there have been times when I've gone to myself, it's like, oh man, has this thing run its course? You know, sometimes I think we make the mistake of sticking with a strategy just because we know it and we know how to do it, and things change so quickly on the internet. You know, I've sat back and I go, wow, you know, maybe this thing is just run its course, but the results keep coming in. Oh my gosh, right? You know, this morning I looked at my list and I'm like, whoa, you know, the numbers are growing, and when I send an email out to someone and they respond to me as if they know me personally, like I'm their friend, I'm like, okay, this is working. This is working. And
I put the link nams.ws/interviews in the sticky note in the top of the chat box, and you can click on that. If you do click on that, use Control-click or Command-click if you're on the Mac, so that you can open up a different window. And just click on nams.ws/interviews. You go to the sales page, and that's where you can actually just sign up for this very quickly.
Had a lot of students go through the program, and they've absolutely loved that all the components they need are there. So, which is good.
Yeah.
I really opened the kimono on
This
that
has
one,
been
so.
a very successful program for the NAMS workshops as well, for people to participate in. And Cathy, I really appreciate you doing this, and thank you so much for bringing it to us again.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it again. I know it's new to some people. There are other people who've been sort of maybe sitting on the fence thinking, not so sure if I really want to jump into this. And so hopefully I've given people some more information. So
one thing, though, before we go, is people,
Yes.
because the sitting on the fence and jumping off kind of thing made me think of this. I've been doing a lot of free coaching calls in the last 2 weeks, and going to do another bunch next week as well. And what people are coming to me with is, I've been doing this a long time, studying this a long time, but I've not pulled the trigger. This is the fastest way to pull the trigger. The fastest way to get started. Yeah.
It really is, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so pleased with this program, is because it shortcuts it for people. None of the components are particularly difficult, but I'll tell you, man, I learned a lot of things the hard way. I don't want people to have to learn, and I really want them to have the opportunity to access me in the group coaching.
Right.
I want their questions. I want to help them. I want to make this something that they actually use, implement, and launch. And if they can do it within 30 days, like Lynn Klibble, awesome. Right?
Yep.
Some people might take a little longer, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will leave this open. We'll go off air in a second here, but I'll leave this up so that if you still have questions, you can type them in the chat box. But Cathy, again, thank you so much for doing this, and I really appreciate you being a friend of NAMS.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's great to have a reciprocal interview with you. So this is wonderful. We'll see you at NAMS in Atlanta. Looking forward to it.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.